First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming. See, you guys, we all, we're not normal people. Normal people have 99 problems, and people seeking asylum are not amongst one of those problems. Whereas you guys have 99 problems and you want to buy 99 more. Awesome. Considering that the people outside of this space are not like you, naturally, they don't think like you. They don't speak like you. They don't talk like you. Yeah? And there's a reason why when Dana and I were talking about what today's workshop should be called or what we should be talking about, I thought of the challenge of speaking for others would be a suitable name. Because that's essentially what we do, what we have been doing in the last 2 decades when it comes to people seeking asylum and refugees. Now, I'll start off with my own bio and with my own introduction. I can't tell you how good it feels to be introduced or spoken about like that. Yeah? Where I am not an asylum seeker, I am not a refugee, but I am actually all of those things. Because you see, those things were an experience at a point in time. Yeah? They're gone, they're finished, I'm done with that. I've graduated from a refugee to all of these things. I was many of these things before I came here, and I got the opportunity to do more with those things, and I am what I am today. And I want to be talked about like that. But that's not the case, right? If someone here was eating a falafel and I said, "You're a falafel eater," and that remained their label for the rest of the year, how would that feel? Right? And similarly, when we talk about asylum seeker, what's going on there? So they're not a person, they are not a human being, because I'll get into that in a moment. It's going to get really gory after this. But they're an action at a point in time, and they remain that, right? I deliberately choose not to be introduced as a former refugee or a person seeking asylum. And you notice I deliberately do not use the word asylum seeker at any point. And that's something we're trying to change, and I'll talk about that in a moment as well. Because that was an experience at a point in time. It's gone, it's finished, it's over. Yeah? Just let us live. Yeah? So that's essentially going to be the conversation we're going to be having today. And what I'd encourage you to do is to please jump in at any point in time. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you don't like or don't agree with something I say. Yeah? Of course, I won't like that very much. But please do. First of all, the reason why I like an intro like that is because there is no reduction. Yeah? So what's happening here is we are reducing an entire human being or a group of human beings to that. That's it. That function, that action that you performed at a point in time, that's you for the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever, however long the government decides that that's who you are. Yeah? Whether that was your choice or not, or you were forced or pushed to be a person seeking asylum, but that's it. That's who you are, right? And what happens is that you are reducing someone's story, their humanity, who they were, their history, their present, and their future. You're reducing it to that. So I always say something to myself, and I'll say it before we go any further, that the task of a good message is not to say what is popular. but to actually make popular what needs to be said. So I'm going to say a lot of unpopular things today, and I hope that we start thinking, start questioning what we've been doing the last 2 decades. Now, first of all, when we talk about people seeking asylum, before today, how many of us actually knew who Hazaras were? Yeah? And how many of us know of Hazaras or have friends in the community or have actually been embedded in that community and had interactions with that community, right? It's fantastic that there are people who have. But you see, again, if you're going to be speaking with or on behalf of or alongside people seeking asylum, you should at least know who they are, right? If someone questions them or their identity or the reason why they come here, you should at least be able to answer. If you can't, again, they're just an asylum seeker. We are reinforcing the same thing that the government has said for the last 2 decades. So it needs to stop. Yeah? So get to know the communities that you work with, that you want to work with, that you want to speak alongside, that you want to speak with or speak for, even though I don't encourage the speaking for. Yeah? Again, how many people who have actually experienced seeking asylum here today? Yeah? How many refugees, how many former refugees here today? Yeah? So we've got, what, 4, 5? That's what we need to change. If every single one of us creates that space where we bring along one person from the community who is a friend or a former refugee, a person seeking asylum, and they're here with us, and they feel that they're a part of this, what value does that add, right? That's the difference. That's what we've been seeing. That's been missing in this conversation. So I've got this really fun exercise. Apart from Emily, everyone else can answer, right? I'm going to ask you a question. So what is the capital of Australia? Anyone? Canberra. So if I said what is the wrong answer, what would that be? Anyone?
Every other thing except Sydney.
Every other thing except Canberra? What specifically? Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, ACT, Shepparton, Tasmania, this building, Fitzroy. Come on, come on, come on. Now what is going on here is that I put forward a frame, I put forward a certain kind of language, and you people responded. But the responses were so predictable. We stayed within geography, whereas I specifically said, what is the wrong answer? It could be anything. It could be a light bulb. What has been happening in this debate is exactly that. The government has put out a frame, language, rhetoric, which is poisonous, and we've just been reacting. We've just been responding within that frame. So what happens is, we'll start off with some of the more colorful names that are used. So illegal, boat people, queue jumper, terrorist. Yeah? Others you can think of? What do you guys respond with? Anyone? Not illegal? There is no queue. Others? Not terrorists. Refugee. Oh, and genuine refugee, right? What's happening? What are we reinforcing? What they're saying. Who is getting airtime? What they're saying. Do we want to do more of that? They've got Grandpa Murdoch on their side anyway. Do we want to do more for them? Do we want to give them more help? Right? So if we start off by doing some of the really simple things, we will already start bringing and seeing change. Stop using the word asylum seeker. A person seeking asylum. Yeah? People seeking asylum. What does that reinforce? That they're actually human beings first. That they're actually people first. Yeah? Before I move on a bit further, I have to tell you that there is no golden answer here. There is no golden messaging or statement that is going to change what has been going on for the last 2 decades. It's going to take another 2 decades of doing something different that is going to be the difference and be the change. So, why is cruelty bad towards refugees? Why is offshore detention bad? Why are detention centers bad? Why is the current process bad? Can you think of all the reasons? I'll start with one. I'll say the economic reason. Any other reasons? Ethical? So, ethical, moral. Any other?
People's mental health.
Mental health? Anybody else? It's illegal in terms of international law. Yeah? Let's say international law. There was somebody else there.
Yeah, I was going to say health and safety, but I also thought of isolation.
Okay, health and safety, isolation. Yeah? What else?
Australia's reputation.
Australia's reputation. Okay. Anybody else? I think that's a very strong argument, right? Very strong argument. But do you think that that's effective? Anybody? Is that effective? For some? Yeah? If we were in America right now, and I said, America's the best country in the world, let's go invade Mexico, bang, it would happen. But in Australia, it's different. Australians don't go on saying things like, we're the best country in the world. Australians say, Australia can be as good as any other country in the world. Yeah? I don't say this, trust me. People in policy, public policy, in research say this. And I don't want to offend us as a group, but it's a fact. We recently finished our research, our messaging project at the ASRC. Yeah? And some really interesting things came out of it. Talking about Australia, that Australia shouldn't be doing this, doesn't work. International law, talking about the fact that we're breaking international law and all these UN conventions, doesn't work. Yeah? The economic argument that we are spending $8 billion a year on cruelty, doesn't work. This has been dial tested. This has been done via focus groups in Western Sydney, in Parramatta, in Rockhampton. Mental health and safety, do you really think that the average Australian even knows what it's like to be inside detention? When Aylan Kurdi's image appeared, it was shocking for the world because there was actually a picture. There was actually a human being. Do we see images of what happens inside detention? No. So, it doesn't work. An Australian will not believe that their government is capable of such cruelty. Yeah? So, we can't bother with that. And ethics and morals, you basically get told that you're an Australian because you're talking about your own government and against your government, linking it back to the Australian reputation argument. So what do? We talk about what is real, what people can relate to, what is human. Yeah? People who come here, we respond as usual, again, to their frame of economic migrant. Yeah? We say they're not economic migrants, they're just coming here to survive. It's just them getting away from danger and coming here because they just want safety and security. No. Everyone, every single human being, it is human nature to seek a better life. Do you guys not seek a better life every day? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't we? So when people say, oh, they're economic migrants, of course, every single person on earth is an economic migrant. So yes, they are seeking a better life. I'll give you an example of, eventually, you guys will all get the research that we've been working on at some point next year. But an example of a good message, and this is what we all need to learn. Because if this choir doesn't sing, because a lot of people after today will say, oh, this is preaching to the converted, and I can't keep coming here, and I can't keep doing this, it's more of the same. Well, guess what? If the choir doesn't sing the same thing, the same message, you cannot use that same message outside. You cannot communicate this outside effectively. The choir needs to sing the same message over and over and over. But the thing is, and what will change is public opinion, that's fluid. How many times have we changed our minds about refugees and people seeking asylum? We've done it before, we've been there. A poll says that more than 70% don't want us to be harsher and are supportive of having refugees in this country. Whereas the poll before that said something else, that the majority of this country don't want people seeking asylum here. Yeah? So change is easy, it can come, but messaging and the right message is very important. So a smart message, a good message, it is legal to seek asylum. It is a human right to seek asylum. And every human being deserves dignity and respect and the opportunity to seek a better life. That's something that every person in this country can relate to. But if you're going to talk about the horrors and the gory details, you will repel. People will not want to talk to you. People will not listen to you. So what I recommend as a group, what we need to start doing is, there is no golden answer, there is no golden statement or message. We need to try and test messaging, but quickly get rid of what doesn't work. So all the mistakes that we've been making, if we get rid of that, we've already made progress. Yeah? Like I was saying, stop using essentialist language. Yeah? People have names, people have stories. Help them share those stories. Create spaces. Dana and I, we didn't do anything, we just talked to each other. We got a group together, a group of people seeking asylum. Has everyone seen our Kids Out video on our ASRC Facebook page? Anyone? No one? Yes? Some people? Okay, good. Nick needs to do a better job. And you too. But that video, start to finish, people seeking asylum right now made that. Something that I'd like to tell you, and this is something from personal experience. What is citizenship? Citizenship is not about where you belong. It's not a place, it's not a country, it's not a passport. Citizenship is dignity and respect. Yeah? What will happen is a lot of people will come to you and raise all these concerns and questions and answers. But everyone, every single person will say this. Every reasonable person will say this, yes, we all deserve dignity and respect. So we used to have an individual who used to work at our Dandenong Center, and his name was Ali. Somebody who's survived the troubles, the horrors of Afghanistan, and has crossed borders, conquered oceans, He speaks 7 languages, and he stands. He used to stand at our Dandenong Center with pride, and he used to run the center on his own, a volunteer. Yeah? And when Ali moved on to bigger, better things, as he should, somebody said, "Oh, we can just send a caseworker down there. It's all good, you know, problem solved." But what they don't realize is that what that was doing for Ali and what Ali was doing in that job was restoring his humanity. That was giving him dignity and respect. That was that one punch that he can throw back at the department and say, "Hey, I'm still alive. You're not going to take this away from me." So when somebody said, "Oh, we should send a caseworker," we said, "Oh, screw you. We're not going to do that. That's crazy." So what we need more of, yes, this stuff is important, but let's create this space. Let's create spaces. Let's work together. These people are not powerless. That's our stupidity. That's our assumption. They're not voiceless. They have a Facebook group of children on Nauru. Do you really think that people who don't have a voice or are powerless would dare to do that? So don't make assumptions. Don't think that, oh, they wouldn't want to come. Just ask them. Bring them. Yeah? Let's create those spaces. Let's not pretend. Let's not assume that that's not a possibility. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and because it's fantastic to see so many young people here. I'm a massive critic of the agency model, and the great thing about young people and having individuals here is that you guys are not bound by funding, you guys are not bound by rules and having to listen to your boss or what your manager says or what the organization's direction is or ego or the battle of the ego and the intellect. You guys are just you, and you can do so much with that. But one thing I'd like to say to you, and this is a humble request, is these people don't need saviors. These people don't need saving. Yeah? They saved themselves when they crossed borders and oceans and came here. Now you just need to get out of their way. They've saved themselves. But what you can do is become partners, become allies, show solidarity. If you want to do something, well, next time we're here, let's make sure that the half of the room is filled with people seeking asylum and refugees. Bring them along. If you want to do something, embed yourselves into their communities, gain their trust, build relationships. Tell them that there is hope, that there is a better way, and then see what they're capable of. Because if someone can survive the horrors of Afghanistan, move a few countries, cross oceans, come to Australia, get sent to Nauru, and then come here and still steal your job, that's pretty damn amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for tonight. So I'm not saying we stop speaking. We're a choir, but the choir should be a combination of all stakeholders, all people who have something at stake in all of this. It shouldn't be us just speaking about because again, you're enabling the whole issue around power, and they're a subject. It's like we're talking about this subject, and again, we're also part of the whole dehumanizing people. You ask them how many people go to the other parts of the world. Don't respond. Ask them a question. Do they know how much America takes, or Germany takes, or Europe takes, or Germany is taking this year 800,000? Is that correct? Yeah. So ask them a question of what is this swarming and hordes of people? What is it? What is it in comparison? Give it context. So ask them to give it context, because that makes them take responsibility for that, not you trying to prove your point. Again, any debate, any conversation, there are power dynamics. If you fall into their frame, into that trap, it's the same thing that I described, that exercise right at the very beginning. You're falling into that trap. Right now, even our communities do not believe that this is going on, right? Right now, ordinary Australians, who again, like you said, there are the reasons why there is policy and there is certain opinion, even amongst politicians. Right now, even they don't know enough. They're not on our side. How are we going to influence a major group of politicians if we don't have them as part of the choir, as I like to put it? Yeah. So I think that a lot of work needs to be done on the ground. In this country, right now, specifically when it comes to this issue, we have, with no disrespect, we have like 5 white people who speak at every single event and talk about the issue as if they were the expert. And again, with humility and respect, which one of them has sought asylum? Which one of them has been inside a detention center? Which one of them is a refugee? On the ground, there is a lot of work, and it's you guys. It's us. We have to be that change. To answer one little part, remember there are 3 parts in this cake, right? You have to engage your support base, which is what we're doing. We're building our support base. We're trying to increase our support base. The job that we have is to build this, influence the persuadables, people who are on our side or could be or can be swayed, but alienate the opposition. There are some people, unfortunately, middle-aged white people, white men, grown men, who will never change. I'm sorry to say that. This is not, again, I have research to back this up. There are focus groups conducted. There is a lot of research that's gone into this. There is dial testing, and Dana and I can come and share it with you guys at some point, hopefully next year. Nothing will change that. If somebody in Rockhampton thinks like that, well, alienate them. Somebody recently tried to troll me on Twitter and just kept doing it. I kept repeating that message that I said to you guys. I had to only do it twice and they went away. Previously, they would do it all night. And I would stay up and go, oh, when am I going to win this thing? Alienate them. And if they're not the ones who can be or want to be alienated, they'll shift to this middle where you can actually do something about it. Don't use passive voice. Lives were lost at sea. Yeah, children are locked up in detention. What happens there? Well, your lives are not lost. They're taken, my friend. Nobody is just detained. They're put there. Yeah? Talk about it like that. But again, the reason I say gory details is because we're not talking to the choir here. We're not talking to the opposition here. There are persuadables. Pick your battles. Choose what message you want to use with whom, with what group. If the person is engaging, give them that information. But if you're going to start off by saying, oh, well, I personally saw an 8-year-old who tried to hang themselves in Darwin. Now, if I start tonight with that, what would you think of that? You would say, oh, I don't want this. I'm going to leave. This group is crazy. Yeah? Thank you.